And thank you so much for coming back to Sarita Talks. I've got a special guest again on the Gone But Not Forgotten series. This is the most important podcast that I'm able to do because I just want to get these voices heard. The voices that have not been heard in years, the stories that have not been told in years, the cases that have been forgotten. And these people are not gone in the present sense. They're human beings. They are children of the Most High, just like everyone else. So we shouldn't be forgetting them. But after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, actually after 2 or 3, people stop saying your name. So today I want to bring on, and she's been on here once before, but I want to make sure that everyone can hear the message of Brenda Williams. Everyone can hear the reasons why she needs to be free, just like I am, just like you are. So you can hear that there are people who are being warehoused. This show is Sarita Talks, and a lot of times I talk about my past and being incarcerated, but I really don't get enough opportunity to talk about the pain of knowing that I'm here and they're there. Brenda, tell us a little bit about yourself, just like last time. Your name, your age. We're not a number, but your DOC number, because we need people to start looking into what's going on with you. Brenda?
My name is Brenda Williams. I am 69. My DOC number is 1090690. I've been locked up for 2 decades plus. I was locked up for first degree murder, convicted of I was given a life sentence without parole. But the thing in my case is that I was convicted with no evidence, physical or direct evidence, and I was convicted with no identification whatsoever.
Okay.
The female at the crime scene was described as 5'6", 5'7", and I'm 5'10", maybe 5'7" on a good day.
No, not at all. You were my roommate, and you're very short. You're maybe 5'1" at the most. Let me ask you this: so your case was based on circumstantial evidence,
yes,
at best.
It was all circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
No physical, no direct evidence, no nothing. There was a detective who said that so this was a homicide, and there was a detective who was on the witness stand. And when he was asked if they had taken fingerprints at the homicide, he said, of course we take fingerprints at all homicides. Yet, in my trial, when he was asked if there was fingerprints taken, he said no.
Wow. Who did the fingerprints come back to?
Well, we don't know because a fingerprint report has never been given to us. We know what's out there, but a fingerprint report has never been given to us.
Now, from day one, entering, I know you've always claimed you're innocent. You've always tried to get assistance. How long have you been in this fight for your freedom?
I've been in this fight for my freedom since the day I got locked up. My judge, even when I went back to my evidentiary hearing, my judge even told me he knew I was not the female in the crime scene.
Wow.
That I am short and that girl was tall. And in court, they did not ask that girl to make an identification. So when you're convicted of first degree murder, you can always go back and ask for a DNA testing if DNA has not been done. Well, later in my paperwork, I have read that the prosecution asked for DNA testing, but the Kansas City Police Department refused to do the testing.
Wow.
And not only did they refuse to do the testing, because they knew that none of that would come back to me, I would not have any blood, and they always said that there was glass shards around the car. Well, they checked my shoes that night. Now, if there were glass shards, if I was that female, I would have glass shards in my shoe.
Now, what did you say they are? What are you talking about?
At the crime scene, they said that there was glass shards around the
glass
shoes.
shards. Okay.
Glass shards. Okay, so if I were that female, you took my shoes that night, I would have had glass shards in my shoes. And they knew I did not. So when I filed for my DNA petition to ask for DNA to be ran on the clothing and the shoes that I had on, my judge ordered the testing only to deny the testing. He had a hearing, denied the testing immediately. So when I appealed it to the appeals court, the field court came back and said that I had proved I was nowhere near the crime scene, but they did not address the identity issue.
So
and they know that there's an identity issue.
Tell me this, because we had a conversation before we started the podcast, which I always do with my guests, and we were talking about not labeling ourselves or accepting ourselves as the charges we've been given. So even though the paperwork might say life without parole, we do not want to embody that, because recently in the news it says that Governor Parsons has 100 clemencies for review that are going to be signed on his way out of the office. So what I want everyone to do, please, it'll take you just a quick little snippet. Call his office and advocate for Brenda Williams, advocate for Teresa Cummings, advocate for Verna Jones, for Ann Delaney, for Kristen Allen. Okay, but this is the Brenda Williams story, and there are so many other people who are deserving to go home as well. So they said out of 34,000 applications, that's 34,000 people who are actively trying to get their sentences commuted or their sentences pardoned or get a clemency. Out of all of those 34,000 applications, there are 100. This woman was convicted on testimony that doesn't even describe her. Brenda?
Exactly.
Tell us more about, the struggle to try and get somebody to look into your case or to fight. You told me before you weren't able to fight because you didn't have an attorney, correct?
Right. I had a public defender, and I don't have an attorney now. And I understand that attorneys, it costs a lot of money to file the briefs. I understand it costs a lot of money to file motions. And that we have innocent people in prison, and the only way these innocent people are going to get out is if they fight. Now, I know that there's a new statute that if you were not the shooter, that you're not in the crime scene statute, I think it's 547031, can, which is what they filed for a couple of the men that have gotten out of prison, because they didn't have identification and they didn't have evidence against them, which is just like mine. But when you file a pro se motion, most courts don't look at it. Most courts do not look at that. They deny it or they just put it aside. Here's one thing that's funny. My judge, when I was convicted, when I filed for my DNA hearing, my judge said on that paperwork for 10 years. He only acknowledged it when he got ready to retire because he had to clear it off his desk. That's the only reason he did it. He said on that paperwork for 10 years.
And that 10 years you're in prison. And during that 10 years you're in prison, awaiting someone to help that didn't. Is the DNA still in existence? Do you know that?
The DNA, there's DNA that there's clothing still to be tested.
Wow.
Yes, wow. Materials, they know. So when the appeals court came back and said that I proved I was nowhere near the crime scene, I proved I'm not the hide, I proved I don't come anywhere near the description, they actually said that they did not address the fact that the circuit court knew that there was an identity issue. So you have me locked up for life with no evidence, physical or direct, and no identification whatsoever.
Brenda,
how did that happen?
It's so sad that this has happened, and your story, which is just beyond disappointing, is not the only story like that. I had a conversation last night about Kevin Strickland. Kevin Strickland, the prosecutor said he was innocent. The attorney said he was innocent. And the man was locked up for 40 plus years waiting on Governor Parsons. Correct? And had been through several governors. So there's 100 applications. I would challenge those in Jeff City to make it 200, 300. I feel like in the Bible now, 400. If there's 500 believers, Lord, if there's 600 believers, but we're going in a different direction, like we just cannot leave people behind like this. And I really feel like a lot of times I say I was on a missionary trip because I would have never known that these are some of the things that are taking place throughout the United States of America. And I just want to touch on an injustice I recently found out about. How old are you, Brenda?
69.
Okay, Brenda's 69 years old. I heard from a source within the facility, and it is true, that everyone who was 65 and older was called to the medical department. And when they got there, the nurse practitioner told them to have a seat, and the doctor came in and they wanted to instruct them all that they needed to fill out a do not resuscitate, a DNR. Basically, that they were okay with, if something happened to them not having a chance to be resuscitated, or that DOC was, just going to pull the plug on them. How disheartening, how saddening. I also know, as for a fact, that day, no one signed that paperwork. So these are the things that are happening. I'm fighting for my case. If I'm Brenda Williams, I know that I'm innocent, because I know this is the lot that I've had for the longest. And now the facility in which I'm being housed, and I am utterly dependent on for my medical health, has told me that it would be advantageous for me to sign a DNR. Brenda, I know that you are one of the people possibly affected by that. Is that true?
That is true.
Tell me the feeling. Yes. What did that room feel like in that moment for you and everyone else, if you can tell us?
We were all, we felt very prejudiced against. And the director of nursing who had that meeting said to us that when one of the females asked her in the room, said, "Why did you single us out?" And she said, "I did single you out." She admitted she singled us out. And so then she said, "Well, everyone is going to get this on their tablets next week about signing a DNR." Well, that's been a month ago, and it has never come out on the tablet yet. So even she didn't tell the truth when she said that, and I think she was only trying to cover it for herself. But even then, there were some of us in that room who felt like they were trying to pressure us to sign that DNR.
But no one signed it.
From a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
No one signed it, correct?
No one signed it.
As you shouldn't have. You fight for my life just like you fight for anyone else's. And how sad. So not only am I in a fight for my life with the state of Missouri trying to come home and be free, now I'm in a fight for my life just to make sure I can make it to freedom. When I heard that, I was beyond disappointed, and I shed tears, even though this isn't my lot. It is. We are sisters. Those are my brothers that are fighting. This is an injustice. First of all, at 65, you should still, for the life expectancy of an American citizen, have 8 years left, 8 to 10. At the end of the day, why are these conversations being had if you're not on palliative care or hospice? That doesn't make sense to me. These are the things that beat us down and beat us down and beat us down and beat us down. And there are innocent people right now being beat down in this way.
There is. And I appreciate you having me on the show for the second time. And I do appreciate it. I just would like for someone to look into the case, for someone just to talk to me.
That's right.
Just to talk to me. I mean, listen, I know that they hear it every day. People say all the time in prison, "I didn't commit the crime," or "I'm innocent of that crime." They hear it every day, because sometimes it is true. People say that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the facts of my case, there's absolutely no way I was that female at the crime scene. I'm 5 foot, can't be any taller. And at the time, the description of that female that was given was 5'6", 5'7", medium build, early 30s. Well, I was in my 40s at the time. Not only that, I weighed well over 200 pounds. And if a 5 foot female weighed over 200 pounds, I looked like a little fire hydrant. There was no way I could have been medium build.
Girl, boo.
Downright fat.
Not a fire hydrant. I'm so done with you. Oh, well, and I see it. Listen, she is a humorous person, and I love her because iron sharpens iron. Brenda, you want to tell the audience anything before we close this out?
just want to say thanks for having me on. I just want to say, talk to me. You know, I serve a mighty
Absolutely.
God. I serve a big God.
Yes.
So my God knows, and so I just say, talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to go home and be a grandma. I'm 69. I just want to go home and be a grandma.
That's right. And here's the thing. There's some big names out there that have been at Chillicothe Correctional Center and have interviewed people. Lisa Harris out here rocking it, got her freedom because she was juvenile life without. And Chris Como came to Chillicothe Correctional Center. Dr. Phil's been to Chillicothe Correctional Center. So here's the thing. If their voices can get out, I'm a little fish in a big pond. But if you're listening, you don't need to come find me. I mean, it'd be nice, but if you can help my friends, that's what I need you to do. Thanks for coming to Sarita Talks. I appreciate you, Brenda, for coming on. Don't thank me, thank God. Take care.